Right. Shalom, you actually didn't hear him. Shalom, I'll do it. How do I? Right, yeah, I can hear you. Sure.
No, it's not, Matt.
There you go.
Yeah.
More, please. Never know what this.
Yeah. I mean, if you're eating a salad, you know, you're trying to
What was the perfect day? So, shalom, 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 and welcome to another study. I've been corresponding with some women in the background. Allegedly, want to join the true disciples of Christ. A lot of people want to join the true disciples of Christ until they join the true disciples of Christ.
Hey, GP, what was the
But
number
Naya,
again?
that link is in your email.
On
And then
those
once
magnets?
they join, they realize they still want to be worldly. Male and female. And so tonight we're going to talk about unclean spirits. Unclean spirits. In the psychiatry world,
1,000.
psychology world,
Alright.
they refer to these as
Your brother, he here?
personality disorders.
Your brother here?
So we're going to talk about these personality disorders this
Word.
evening with the spirit, Ruach HaKadosh. How many of you have been involved with a mate that have a personality disorder? My book, to everyone, the David Davids of the world, and everyone else out there that have not purchased my book, you're doing yourself a tremendous injustice. This book right here, A Spokesman for Men. If you really want to learn how to deal with these women, many of which have all sorts of personality disorders, you need to read this book. It teaches you not only how to deal with them, but how to properly conduct yourself. A Spokesman for Men, you can get it from the website, www.disciplesofchrist.org, or you could also get it from Amazon. I prefer that you get it from the website. I'll give you a better deal, and more than likely you'll get it faster. So, personality disorders. Are they? Now, let me tell you this. I've been in quite a few relationships, and Jerry Yasha being the female, he suffered from borderline personality disorder. Now, borderline personality disorder is accompanied with one or two other personality disorders. Let me say this. This is not medical advice, not legal advice. If you need medical advice, if you need psychological advice, or legal advice, seek yourself a physician, a counselor, and then please be advised. What we're about to go into tonight is for educational purposes only. And it's a warning for those people out there that may be involved with someone that has a personality disorder. Now, unless you know what you're looking for, you won't be able to detect it. You would think that is normal behavior. What do I mean by that? Now, don't be swayed because someone may work in a professional position, General Yasha Bean. Because many of these borderlines, those borderline personality disorder, histrionic personality disorder, schizophrenia, these are all personality disorders. The Bible refers to them as unclean spirits. The scientific world refers to them as personality disorders. But those of us rooted in the scriptures, Brother Torres, we understand that this is an unclean spirit. It's a demonic possession that's actually taking that person over. And the person want to do good, but they just keep going back. They just do something out of the blue. It doesn't make any logical sense. You think everything's going fine, and boom. Out of the blue, they're bringing up something from the past. That is an indication of an unclean spirit and a personality disorder. If you're, I'm gonna tell you now, man. The problem with most people that's not familiar with these unclean spirits or these personality disorders, people have a tendency to believe that they could fix these people, get better. In the long run, to become a codependent. Become codependent on that person that has a personality disorder, and then you're unable to break away. What are some of the symptoms? She's hot. Now, I'm saying she. Why am I using the term she? It's because before the feminist agenda flooded into the world of psychology and psychiatry, when we look at the DSM-4, borderline personality disorder was listed primarily in females. When the feminist agenda in the 70s swept into the world of psychology and psychiatry, they took it out. They said it was bias. See, feminism is an excuse not to tell the truth. And you should know the truth. The truth shall make you mad. Now, what are some of the signs that you look for? One of them is the person goes from hot to cold. You're getting along with this person just fine, and then out of nowhere, they're bringing up something from the past. Did you just sit around? Now, General Yashipin, this is this is a sick individual, right? They sit around. Now, mind you, the last time you saw this person, everything may have been just fine. You was happy. They may have been telling you that they love you, and then boom, you wake up in the morning, you're wondering what the hell happened. Because this person is bringing up something from the past, and you're trying to make sense of it. See, here's the thing. You cannot make sense of people that have these issues. Stop trying to make sense of it. And there's plenty of songs out there with these celebrities that have borderline personality disorders. And there's usually always a woman that's singing. Blank Space. That's one. Pink song. I Hate You, Don't Leave Me. That's one. I mean, they go on and on. Borderline. That song called Borderline. To the borderline. And I feel like I'm losing my mind. These are borderline personality songs, and there's so much more. They're telling you basically, if you listen to the lyrics, that they're out of their mind. Some of the characteristics, I'm staying with the borderline one because that's the worst one. Psychiatrists don't like to deal with a borderline because they play mind games even with a psychiatrist. They would do things just to test you. You will never be comfortable around a borderline. Things could be, again, I reiterate, things could be going just fine, and then poof, out of nowhere, they have a moment, and they bring up things from the past. General Yashipin, one of the things that they love to do, if they think that you might find interest in something else, they're trying to end the relationship before you do. They always talk about breaking up. Why? Because the primary characteristic of the borderline is fear of abandonment. Fear of abandonment. Why do they have this fear of abandonment? Because in their youth, they was neglected by either one or both parents. And they take this into their adulthood. And any kind of, you could just stay a little late for work. The borderline will interpret that as you don't love me anymore. You could make a statement, you think you're just making a general statement, and the borderline will take that and blow that out of proportion. You may say, well, I didn't plan on having any more children, but, I'll do it for you. The borderline interprets that utterly different. They see things totally different. They don't see things, they don't feel the same way. Their feelings are intensified. Something that we may take as just like a little trivial, the borderline intensifies it. And they love pain. See, they're an enemy, they're a victim of their own, foolishness or craziness. They're a victim of their own craziness because the very thing that causes them harm, they continue to do it. And I'm telling you, if you're with a borderline and you're trying to fix them, you will end up a codependent. They have to make a choice to fix themselves, and often they don't. Usually they don't fix themselves until they're really old and no one else wants them. But no, you ever dealt with anyone that's a borderline? Why did that work out for you? Borderline woman, she would do anything sexually.
Shalom.
Shalom.
Yeah, I was talking. I don't think the mic was going through, but yeah, I've been with several. Come to find out, they take the shirt off or whatever they're wearing. They got marks on their upper arm and on their legs and all that. And borderlines tend to take the smallest things that like you just said, the most things that you would never think they would take to a whole nother level. It's just
something we see as insignificant.
Right.
Something that a normal, healthy individual would see as insignificant. The borderline intensifies it. It takes it to an entire different level. And so they have this love-hate relationship for you. There's an extreme love, and this is what drives their mates crazy, because there's an extreme love for you, but you could just say something you don't even know it's offensive to the borderline, and the borderline go to that other end of the totem pole. Anyone ever see that old movie by Martin Lawrence and Lynn Whitfield? She was a damn borderline. That's what borderline personality looks like. Stalking it, doing things. That's a borderline right there. What was that movie called, Yashabim? What's Love Got? No, that wasn't it.
it's a thin line between love and hate.
Between love and hate. There you go. A borderline goes from hot to cold. What about you, General Yashabim? You ever dealt with a borderline?
Oh yeah, I definitely have. Unbeknownst to me, I didn't call it or see it for what it actually was for about 12 and a half years. So everyone that's on the call, if you hear some characteristics of that we're going to be describing, that's similar to someone who you are either dealing with, thinking about dealing with, or could even be a family member. Take heed and make wise decisions going forward. But yeah, borderlines, they go from hot to cold. They I had it in mind that I'll be able to fix this person. That was the encouragement from the so-called marriage counselors. If you work on you, as a man, the woman's going to follow. But that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen in this case, because they're wired in their brains, they're wired in their spirit differently. Like the way Khan was saying, when you say something and you can mean it, be passionate about it, you know, you think it's meaningful, they take it as something else completely different. Completely different. They have to want help. And if they don't want help, they're able to, you know, humble themselves, and even if you keep them in a word, you're going to get the same result. They may have less and less outbreaks, as it was in my case, over time, but each subsequent outbreak, each tantrum or episode is even worse. So,
what are some of the things that you look for? You look for cutting, like Benign was saying. They have cuts on their bodies. You look for impulsive spending. She may go out and spend her rent money, mess everything up, and think nothing of it. And I'm going to tell you something else about a borderline. A borderline will go out and have risky sex. Not all of them, but there's 9 characteristics to a borderline. They only need to qualify to be a borderline is to have 5 of those characteristics. They have this intense fear of abandonment. They will have risky sex. What cutting is another trait of a borderline. They cut themselves because the pain that they feel when they cut themselves supposedly relieve them of some of that mental pain. The sick individual. So I'm telling you, borderline was primarily female trait until feminists came into the psychiatry world. Now, I want you to think for a second. Envision a classroom. Let's say it's elementary school. There's a boy. He's sluggish down. He slumps down very low on his chair. He's looking at Instagram in the classroom. Said him, there's several girls, they have on a Katy Perry t-shirt. Now Katy Perry, she's a borderline also. Stealing glasses at a weird looking new girl. Good looking new girl looks at the rain. She has a blank stare. Just like the song that borderline may call Blank Space. This girl has a blank stare. Could these children in this classroom be one day determined or diagnosed a borderline personality disorder? Yes, they could. See, again, in DSM-4 it was primarily females. I think about 75% of all borderlines were females. In DSM-5, when women started there was an influx of women and feminine into the psychiatry profession. In DSM-5, they took it out. DSM-5 states that personality disorders are enduring patterns of perceiving, relating to, and thinking about the environment and oneself that are exhibited in a range or a wide range of social and personal context. So like I say, they are often sit around. Things could have been fine when you went to sleep, Yashabu. You wake up, the borderline's coming at you with something like, where the hell did that come from?
They punish those that are closest to them, especially their mate, with whatever they have going on in their own imagination, without any validation of such.
So they are inflexible, and maladaptive, and they cause a significant functional impairment or subjective distress to their mate. Now, it is estimated that approximately 0.5% to 2.5% of the general population fits a personality disorder. The Bible say, what does the Most High say? The Bible, church, it does not use the term personality disorder. To be precise, the scriptures say that the point of counseling is change into a personality and behavior. So what does a man of the Most High, a Kahan, bishop, or whatever counselor do with a personality disorder label? How many of you have to counsel people? Suspect the counselor might fit the diagnosis of a borderline personality disorder if you've been talking to people. What is the biblical definition of a personality disorder? Called personality disorder, paranoid, narcissistic, etc., right, are simply descriptive or descriptions of long-term behaviors, emotional, interpersonal, and thought patterns that literally develop by any particular individual over a period of time. The Bible clearly, precisely articulates the influences is depravity and sin on a person's behavior, on their thinking, on their feelings. And so therefore, according to the Bible, the influence of the law of sin must be a focal point for individuals citing these labels. Let's get to the book of Ephesians, chapter 2, verse 3. Okay, what about you, Daryl? You know anyone that had any of these personality disorders? Ephesians 2, verse 3.
Come, it's the book of Ephesians, chapter 2, verse 3. Among whom also we all had our conversations in times past, in the lust of our flesh.
So the first thing is that following the flesh always leads to further corruption and eventually leads to death and darkness. Following the flesh. Did you finish that out here?
No. Fulfilling the desires of the flesh and of the mind, and whereby nature the children of wrath, even as others.
See, these personality disorders are children of wrath. And they're filling the lust of the mind as well. Because a demonic possession has taken them over. From there, let's get Ephesians 4 and 22 through 24. Ephesians 4, chapter 4, verse 22 through 24.
Book of Ephesians, chapter 4, verse 22 through 24.
Someone get the book of Romans 8, verse 5. Go ahead, King.
That ye put off concerning the former conversation the old man, which is corrupt according to the deceitful lusts, and be renewed in the spirit of your mind, and that ye put on the new man, which after Yah is created in righteousness and truth.
This is how you know whether or not someone's really serving the Most High, right? I mean, a lot of people could talk about a Taurus, but who's really keeping the law, right? You see a lot of sisters, they complain about having to cover their hair. They complain about having to put on a dress or a skirt down to their knees. What do you think Hamashiach's going to feel about that when the judgment comes? Well, they can complain now. They can complain now to do what they want to do in these sort of societies. But when the judgment comes, they wish that they had listened. They wish that you had listened. Let's get Romans 8 verse 5. So you're supposed to put off the old man, put off the old woman. That means you're not dressing like you used to dress anymore. You might have dressed like a hoe. You might have been hanging out with Joe or Bobo, smoking marijuana. You're going to have to tell Bobo and Joe, sorry, Joe, gotta go. I can't do that anymore. You're going to say no. Gotta go, man. You can't hang with those people anymore because you put off the old man. Sisters, you see, when a sister's in the spirit, she's going to be elated to cover her hair because you know it's about her salvation. When you concerned, oh, I got to cover my hair, my employee's going to, you ain't in the right spirit. Your spirit's so off. Well, when my co-worker's going to say, your spirit's off as hell. And this may not be for you. See, too many people, General Yashabim, like to pretend in this walk. You want to walk, you see what I'm saying? General, they want to walk how they want to walk. They want to be lukewarm. So they're going to be spit out of the mouth. Either you're all right or you're not right at all. There is no mediocre. There is no middle area with the Most High. Obey me. That's what he wants, obedience. It's better than sacrifice. Book of Romans 8 verse 5.
God, this is the book of Romans, chapter 8, verse 5. For they that are after the flesh,
People that's falling the flesh, you know what I mean? They fall in this world, they lusting, they doing this, you know. You're not spiritual. You know.
do mind the things of the flesh. But they that are after the Spirit, the things of the Spirit.
So you got to mind, we talking about people's spirits here. So why are we talking about spirits? Because borderline personality disorder is an unclean spirit. Narcissist is an unclean spirit. Schizophrenia is unclean spirits or spirits. The only thing that these labels do is provide healthy, or not even healthy, but helpful descriptions. They are. They're just descriptions of symptoms. They do not give explanations or prescribe the solution that works. How many of you know that anyone that was on some psych drug that's gotten ill? You can't name one. But the psychiatrists do not offer solutions. People still go to them now. You need to see a counselor. For what? The psychiatrists are on medication. Just provide helpful descriptions, family. Descriptions of symptoms. But they never give explanations or prescribe solutions that work. The Most High does. The Kahans of the Bible provide hope when they're in the right spirit, unlike most psychotherapists. See, the Most High's counselors, we people with personality disorders, and personality labels can indeed overcome their sins and circumstances that lead to the development of symptoms, diagnosis. But in the psychological world, diagnosis and truth is grim. borderline personality disorder in the psychological world is considered to be untreatable. It's a death sentence. None of the psychiatrists want to deal with them because they play games on the psychiatrists. They play games on the psychiatrists. DSM categorized 10 personality disorders in 3 clusters. Cluster A, B, C. Cluster A is paranoid, schizoid, and psychopath. Cluster B is antisocial, borderline, histrionic, and narcissistic. And cluster C is an avoidant. See, there's something known as an avoidant personality disorder where they try to avoid people. They stay locked off by themselves all the time. And there's a dependent personality disorder. There's obsessive compulsive. See, the people in cluster A, paranoid, schizoid, schizopath, be withdrawn. They're very cold towards other people. They're always looking for a fight. Suspicious. They're irrational. But those in cluster B, they may be described as emotional. Cool. Attention seeking. Especially that borderline. You want to drive a borderline crazy? Just deprive them of your attention. And someone in cluster C tends anxiety. So usually only the people that fall in cluster B see counseling. The others don't. So let's take a quick look at this, man, so you know what to look for most through the spirit. Look at these. Look at these PDs, these personality disorders from each cluster. Schizoid, the A, borderline, cluster B, and obsessive compulsive, cluster C. Do listen to this. Consider the description someone you know might go into, unless it's you yourself. Now, schizoids, these people are loners. According to DSM-4, people with schizoid personality disorder appear unsociable, cold, reclusive, and they're very indifferent to praise or criticism. You might try to give them a compliment, tell them gossiping, they're indifferent. They don't feel nothing. The loners, they rarely get married. And so, while in touch with reality, these folks may develop schizophrenia. But what does the Most High say? What is the biblical description of a schizoid personality disorder? The Bible zeroes in on it. All of his or her attitudes center on himself. He's made an idol of himself, or she's made an idol of herself for lasting change. And the afflicted person must learn to love the Most High above all, and to continue practicing serving in the Most High and serving others. See, if you're a wise Bible counselor, you would involve a counselee's family in data gathering and then offer them counseling as well. Because anyone that's around a schizoid is going to need counseling as well. But what about the borderline? The borderline's attitude is, I hate you, don't leave me. Don't go away, but get lost. It make no damn sense. See, people with this diagnosis, They say that they feel empty. That mood swings. Remember I was telling you, Yashabi? You might go to sleep and everything's just fine. They're telling you they love you and all of it. Then boom, a rapid mood swing. They bring us something from the past. You know what the hell's going on?
Emotional roller coaster.
They're rapid mood swings. And they have poor self-image. They often attach themselves strongly to others. And then, the very people that they attach themselves to, they become hostile towards them. That fear of abandonment is a hallmark of a borderline personality disorder. They're self-harming people. Some are very suicidal. %10 of these people with borderline commit suicide. Man of the Most High would say that the person with borderline personality disorder has developed a sinful manner of a life that is self-seeking and depends on people rather than the Most High. See, her core heart issues is pride, and she believes that others must organize their lives around her needs for happiness.
Wow.
So in reality, the solution is helping them understand that change happens as they put forth issues based on identity, which is that borderline personality disorder, and put on the identity of a Mashiach. Let's get Ephesians 4:22 again. Ephesians 4:22 to 24. Learn to live with the identity of Hamashiach. Even when you don't feel like you belong there.
John, this is the book of Ephesians, chapter 4, verse 22. That ye put off concerning the former conversation, the old man, which is corrupt, according
So how
to...
people saying that they save and they believe in the Most High and they still talking like they used to talk. They're still doing the same thing. You're supposed to put off the old man, put off the old woman.
corrupt according to the deceitful lust. 23. And be renewed in the spirit of your mind.
See that?
Verse 24. And ye put on the new man, which after Yahweh is created in righteousness and true holiness.
You gotta take off the old man, put on the new man. Let's get Matthew 22 and 37 through 38. Last cluster, obsessive compulsive. This personality is disorder from obsessive compulsive disorder, because the latter describes a pattern of reoccurring, intrusive, and irrational thoughts leading to compulsions, anxiety. But in contrast, people with this personality disorder, so consumed with detail that they get very little done. I mean, you know someone like that. They're so consumed with detail, they get very little done. Time for friendship or recreation. They're very critical of their own mistakes. Let's get Matthew 22 and 37.
It's the book of Matthew, chapter 22, verse 37. Yahushua said unto him, Thou shalt love the supreme Allaham Yahweh with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 38. This is the first and great commandment.
From there, let's get 2 Corinthians 1, verse 3 through 4. Corinthians, the first chapter, verse 3 through 4.
Book of 2 Corinthians, chapter 1, verse 3 through 4. Be Yahweh, even the Father of our Master, Mashiach Yahweh Shah, Father of mercies, and the Supreme Elohim of all comfort, who comforteth all in all our tribulation, that we may be able to comfort them which are in any trouble, by the comfort wherewith we ourselves were comforted of God.
On the table or over there, bro? Like back against the wall.
That's what I need it for.
So you can have your old screws. All the screws gonna be here.
Oh.
What's this?
It's here right there, right? It's not gonna fall.
Nah, we trying to.
2 Peter's 1 verse 3.
Screw it into.
2 Peter's 1 verse 3.
I'm not gonna be the only one getting these screws.
It's a book of 2 Peter, chapter 1, verse 3. According as his divine power hath given unto us all things that pertain unto life and godliness, through the knowledge of him that hath called us to glory and virtue. Verse 4.
Espera, ahí lo vas a querer.
With one of these borderlines, you won't be quiet.
Y'all
Y'all
doing too much.
You good?
Sitting there wondering what you did wrong. It's really not what you is.
I mean, like,
The woman is just off, really.
it's not even necessary, you know.
Spiritually off.
Yeah, cause nah, bro, cause look, if you put
As it was brought up, more on personality said before, DSM 5 is mainly the females. It's a female trait. Very small amount of males are borderline. They're more like narcissistic type. You know? And Khan brought out when they both pair up with each other, it's a match made in hell. You'll know when you see it.
I need that for storage, and I put the boxes up there.
You know, the acting out in, like in public, or if you are, amongst friends, you can see the unclean spirit show itself, because the smallest, minute, somewhat trivial type of things just set them off. And, but there's hope. There's hope. They have to want the help. As it just brought out these scriptures, the only thing that can really be there to help them is them wanting to be reprogrammed, so to speak. As it's written inside the scriptures, a renewing of your mind, putting off completely of your old self, and you starting over as you were a child. You're starting over as if you were a babe, and what babies do, what small, little boys and little girls do, they take hold of every word and action of those or of their parents. So you have to look at the word in the same fashion. You're not looking at this word in these scriptures, as you are a babe, you're not going to make it. Especially those with unclean spirits. Especially. It's up to us, as we just read, those of us that's been comforted, that's been through these things, to, warn you, and if you happen to be one of those, put it in the forefront, put it in your face. Ultimately, that borderline and the narcissist, they're going to be the ones to make the decision. That's the only way. Go ahead. No, I'm good.
It's a lot, yeah, but that spirit is something else. 1 minute they'll be quote unquote deeply in love with you, the next minute they want to kill you. I had one. I woke up next morning. I thought everything was cool, chilling. Went to go get me something to drink. This girl wakes up, looks at me, and said, "I want to kill you." Talking about I had a bad dream about you. So, wow, what? And she was mad the whole day because of a dream she had. I was like, what are you talking about? This simple. Got you thinking, like, what's the problem with this person?
I had a quick question. This dealing with someone with mental disabilities such as schizophrenia. Some individuals aren't violent, and they don't have that. Where Benaiah just said, everything's cool, and you wake up the next day and hey, I want to kill you type of thing. But they exhibit abilities that they don't understand things, and they seem to almost not be able to function at all. And I was just wondering where that fitted in the, what'd you say, the DSM-5, because it pertains mostly to females.
But before the DSM-5, it was pertaining to mostly females. And now that they're in DSM-5, they switched it up.
Okay.
Benaiah, when there was a time similar while I was dealing with a borderline, and came home from work, and whole time, I'm getting side-eyed. Like, okay, I don't think nothing of it. Everything was good in the morning. When I left, had a pretty, decent day at work, thinking that we're about to go out to eat. Get interrogated with a bunch of questions. Very...
1 5 5 1 2 6 6 0 5 0 0.
aggressive manner based on a TV show they just watched. I'm like, hold on a second. But see, there was about literally an hour and a half of wasted conversation before I found out. So you've been at the house all day, doing nothing, watching television. And because of something that you watched on TV, you applied it to me, even though I have absolutely zero characteristics from what you're telling me after I'm talking to you. Well, yeah, you know what? I guess you're right. But we just wasted 90 minutes. We're never going to get back. You yelling, screaming, you cussing. I'm just like, what in the world? Yeah, it's wild. Or even that fear of abandonment. There was, man, I got tons of them, man. Because I'm going to tell you that drug called the Christian church just continued to push me in that scenario. And I'm going to be honest, I was hooked on that thing until I got a hold of an apocrypha and started reading the scripture and its proper understanding for itself. I mean, that's the only way out. I mean, because everything in the scriptures pushes you toward life, and you being verbally or even sometimes of us physically abused with the mate, that's not the way the Most High wants us to live at all whatsoever. He's utterly against that. But there was a time where a borderline was driving up and down the main strip of and waiting for me to come off the interstate, returning from base.
Borderline, do something else, man.
They'll destroy property.
Do something and deny it, even if you see them.
Yeah. Yeah, I've actually recorded conversations like you said. I didn't say it. Play it back. Well, why you have to record the conversations? Why can't you just talk to me? I am talking to you. It's wild. It is wild. I mean, I'm laughing now, but it's not funny when you're going through.
Yeah, this is a lot of this behavior we see on these videos, those Karens and stuff. And I mean, you have a camera right in their face, and they're still acting out. It's like they can't control it.
And those of you that are watching and listening, we are specifically dealing with, borderline, which by and large is a female trait. Again, before the DSM-5, it's in the DSM-4. But it doesn't mean that males can't have it. It's just very rare. They usually go, the way a man is built, they usually go in a different direction. So that's going to be on another lesson. Just stand by, pull up one of the old videos. That's just what we're dealing right now. We're not bashing, we're just speaking the truth. Personal experience and, reading these scriptures and how they apply to today. And this stuff is real.
George, you're kind of quiet. George's kind of quiet, isn't he?
Yeah, a little bit. Shalom, man.
Hey, greetings. I'm just doing the hill. David, you ever been on board with a Buddha on?
On.
What's that like for you, David?
Well, once I realized I didn't know all these things that you guys knew. So I thought it was fine. I just figured that that's how they were. And if I couldn't take it anymore, I just left. And at some point, I just stopped getting girlfriends. I was like, you know what? There has to be a better way. Because I always wanted to hook up with one and stay with them until death do it. I never really went for one night stands and stuff. But I tried once. But I never seemed to do well with that. I never seemed to do well in relationships. So, of course I didn't think I was the problem. So, I couldn't identify their problem with some of the things that you folks are saying now. If I knew then what I know now, I would probably still be with the one who I fell in love with in high school or grade school, or my first love or something like that. That would have been fine for me, but I just kept finding myself going from girlfriend to girlfriend, trying to find one that was copacetic, one that I could spend my life with.
A borderline? Are you saying you was looking to be with a borderline? Or
No, I was actually a simp. So,
okay.
Being a simp and trying to deal with the borderline.
Yeah. Well, that's... Yeah. But I'm going to tell you something, David. That's not going to work for anybody. That's not going to work for anybody but another man who also has a mental disorder, which I brought out, to be a narcissist. But for those of I'm gonna go and call him a simp. I mean, I was probably there. I'm pretty sure I was there at one point in time. Yeah, because at the beginning I didn't set rules. I just thought that was part of trying to teach and show your woman how how they need to be in the beginning. I never set rules in a relationship until something extreme happened. So up until something extreme happened, and then I got so mad I didn't want to deal with it. Then I set a rule, and then things started going a little bit better for a while, and those tantrums and outbreaks happened less and less.
I was really ridiculed for it. I was ridiculed. Some folks made fun of me that, you know, and you have some really weird rules, you know, in your relationship on how you guys conduct yourself in public. I was like, well, you ain't the one that gotta live with her. You know, oh, well, why can't she come? No, she ain't coming. But talking to the barbecue? Nah, that's not gonna happen. That's not gonna happen. Oh, we're going to the store? Well, if we go to the store, it'll just be us. But we ain't going as a group with her. Like, we were like, man, that's kind of weird. Are you kind of harsh? No, it ain't harsh. I started to, you know, wise up, but, you know, but still forcing myself in a situation that, you know, that was never going to fit. And what really gets them upset is the more you bring out these scriptures on them. That, you want to see a borderline trip, hold them accountable to following something they said they was going to do and they don't want to do it. Those are the worst encounters, the worst. You know, and what I was getting at earlier too, by the way, is that folks that knowingly try to tolerate that and not ever work to do better for themselves or see themselves as deserving to be treated like that, you become a codependent, is what it's called. And then they end up changing your outlook on life and changing your spirit, you know, to where you expect this type of behavior and you look for that in others. You have to really be on it. Like, yeah. You just gotta have, you know, you just have to be on it. You gotta be on it. You can't let up. Any kind of breaking leeway that you give a borderline, you know, they're gonna see that as them, you know, as them winning. They're gonna continue to try to take advantage of it. And it seems so subtle, but it is what it is, man. I've lived through that mess, and you can't fix it. I've literally worked with it for double-digit years, you know, with the coercion and the encouragement of that drug called the Christian church and counselors and stuff, and that's never, it just didn't work. It didn't work. I've developed myself up to a point to where, especially during the most progress I've made was when Kahan started these, got a hold of his Talk to Radio podcast, and then I started, was like, you know, like I called him, well, no, on the show, I'm like, man, I thought that I was the only one going through stuff like this. I thought I was weird. People were telling me that I'm harsh and I got strict rules in my relationship. Now that's because, you know, she got an unclean spirit. And I never made her and held her accountable to deal with it, you know, firmly. I've held myself accountable. Like I said, I've trained myself and gotten better with communication and things like that. And it doesn't matter. Like, I've literally wrote a list of excuses that I've heard over the years and got rid of every single excuse, and then they'll always put something else on the table. So personal accountability, personal responsibility, and being held accountable in conversation, you can forget it. That spirit will come out and throw attention, destroy property, break things, harm themselves, threaten to commit suicide or hurt the children, your sons and daughters and whatnot. Or what can I say? I hate you, don't leave me. Yeah, I mean, I would always hear laughing. Yeah, like, like it's funny, man, because like for over 10 years, I would always hear, you know, oh, you're going to be happy, you know, if I'm not around. That's what make you happy, you know, appreciate me. Now, all these come not usually, all the time, they come from someplace that's ill-connected with what's going on that day. You know, it has something to do with, you know, how they grew up. And when I got wise to it, I started moving appropriately, you know. I mean, dang on Bible and Apocrypha, and instead of just pushing the so-called Old Testament, so-called New Testament, I started pushing that in the house. I started blasting the Talk Shoe Radio podcast, so that everybody in the house can learn. I think at the time my son was like 10, you know, and because I would do Bible study on Wednesdays, you know, in my house. And she would disconnect herself. She wouldn't come in the kitchen or in the living room to participate in nothing. She says, oh, well, you didn't invite me in, which I've never done that. Just making up silly stuff to try to, not face the truth. And, man, the true spirit came all the way out and stayed out. But you gotta be firm with it. You may have to make a decision if they don't want to change or if they don't want to actually follow, what's going on in the house. You don't have to make a decision to leave. Make a decision to disappear when they're not around. So if you give them a heads up, you will be set up.
Yeah, family, long time ago, and probably still, done today or practiced today, is that in our community, we don't want to talk about it. And a lot of people hide it, especially if it's a child or if it's, one of your sons or daughters. And a lot of us probably did, a long time ago, date somebody that was borderline, but not knowing what that was, we had no idea. We just knew that relationship didn't work. That helped some people on the call out. But yeah, it was a taboo, and people were, they were hiding family members, and not getting them any type of, now we know spiritual intervention or even medical intervention. And it just made things worse for that individual, but it was hell on the family. Yeah.
David, what were you laughing? Have you ever been with a borderline? I don't think you would be laughing.
Yes, the similarities are striking because I actually had a girlfriend that I stopped going out with her. She was just unpredictable. She was pregnant, and we went to the hospital. We had to catch a bus. I wasn't driving then. And this was a typical scenario with her and I. So we're on our way home. So we caught a bus, but the problem is there was no bus straight from our house straight to the clinic. So we had to catch two buses. She's pregnant, and so that meant we had to walk. And she didn't want to do that. I thought it was a subject understood. We didn't have that much money, how it is. And so we're getting off the bus, and she reaches over and snatches some transfers. Okay. Okay. Now, I got off first, so we were the last two getting off the bus because it was the last stop. We were trying to get as close to the house as possible. She grabs these transfers, and this bus driver, she just wasn't having it. So now these two are going at it. So I'm trying to separate them. I'm like, lady, please, she's pregnant, she's cranky or something like that there. And this big bus driver was, I guess, across the street or something. I don't know where this dude came from, but I remember his name to this day. His name was Marvin. Because the bus driver who was fighting with my girlfriend said, Marvin, come get this little MF. I was like, now, I wasn't fighting the bus driver. I'm just trying to separate him. And Marvin, he got me out of the way. Now, I got 3 people are fighting around me. So there was nothing I could do. She was just one of those kind of people. We went to a pizza place, and we had our beer. We had our little case we were carrying around. It wasn't that much beer in it. We're downtown, but we weren't hiding or anything. So we went in, and we ordered a picture of beer, and what we were going to do is just keep pouring our little beers in there. I guess that made them a little upset, and to make, I don't know exactly what happened, but we ended up fighting against the establishment. But when the police came, she was the only one that was arrested. She was so bad that when people would come in from out of town, her old girlfriends or whatever, I would have to make sure that the person that she was with was an accountable type person. Because in my mind, if you go with her, you have to be responsible for her. Kind of thing. Yeah. It was that bad because I know I wasn't going with them. So it just got to a point where we barely talked, and we just have our slam bam, thank you ma'ams, and we stayed together for about 5 years. But my dad called me one day, asked me, and my dad doesn't usually call. Okay. And he asked me if he needed to come up and get me off of that hook I was on. And that was pretty much the last day I was with her, because I'm pretty sure I didn't want my dad to come up there and deal with me like that. He was one of them dads. You either go back out and fight him or stay in here and I'm going to whoop you. Okay? He was one of them kind of dads. So I didn't want to have him come up and get me off of that hook.
Got any more of those nuts?
So most of the women I had, I just didn't know to call them borderlines, but I know that there was something wrong with them. So, and then plus I wasn't straight. So one of them decided, hey, why don't you burn the apartment on fire, and then we can collect insurance money. And I actually thought about it. But God, Yahweh had different plans for me, because I had it all figured out. But it wasn't my plan. Okay, and so I pretty much, my relationships got shorter and shorter and shorter until my last one. And I think my last relationship lasted about 2 years, because I would take less and less of their nonsense. I bought 5 couches, 5 microwaves, 5 refrigerators. And when I moved out on my own, I didn't have anything. I didn't have no refrigerator, no microwave. Whenever I went out on my own, I had to buy all this stuff again for myself. I just got tired of starting over. Every time I got in a relationship, it was like I had to stop what I'm doing so I could bring them up to speed or whatever. When I got out of the military, I thought everything I had everything I needed. All I needed was a good woman to help me, and I just could not find one. I didn't know how to look for one. The Quran says that attraction is involuntary. So I kind of understood that. So I was just attracted to the kind that I was attracted to, and they just didn't have my best interest at heart. I mean, they all let me stay with them. I'm through my ups and downs, but they never helped me accelerate like I have the potential to do. So I just didn't know to call them borderlines this or borderlines that. But I do know that they had issues, and I've never had one that I would really take anywhere on a date to a nice restaurant or anything like that. We're just unpredictable. And to be fair, I was a simp. If I could have had control over them, not control, but if I could have grasped their personalities or whatever, I might have been actually able to help them. But it was just too difficult. I just took the way that was easiest for me. And what the easiest for me was just don't talk to them. Because there's going to be an argument, or just give them what they want so that I can get whatever I want. I was just ending up in those kind of relationships. So I kind of lost sight of myself. Therefore, I try to find the church girls, and they actually don't read the Bible.
Nope.
Nope. Like, how can you be in church and don't read the Bible? So, but these things take time. You go through time with them, and before you know it, you've been with them 2 or 3 years, and you're not getting it. And and I lose interest. Once I lose interest in something, I very seldom go back to it. And particularly women, I've never broke up and got back together with one of them. So once it was over for me, it was over for me. And now that I know about the borderlines and psychopaths, and some of these terms, I'm glad I didn't go back. But I've always had the Most High has always looked out for me, and he has always kept me safe. I never caught a case with them, and I probably should have. And now I've met you Akins, and you seem to be where I always wanted to go, what I always wanted to be like. And now I got some teachers. Now I got someone that I could be led and guided by. So,
hey. Oh, smart.
Go ahead, I'm done.
I was going to ask you a question, David.
Yeah, right?
Appreciate you sharing that as well. Did you know that there's a book that the Kahan wrote, Spokesperson for Men?
Was it his latest book?
The one that he had at the beginning of this video.
No, sorry. No, I don't have that one. I have 5 of his books, and I barely read 1.5. So
okay, stop. Wait a minute. We're about to deal with this.
Okay.
So,
how many you read, David?
1.5. Or what?
How long have you had him?
I've had him for about maybe a year, I guess.
So, in a year, you read 1.5 of his books.
Right, and that's perfect.
All right, so David, my recommendation, again, for all you guys that are out there, it's not legal advice. We're not medical professionals, as you see. We're letting guide by the Spirit. If you want legal advice, if you want, advice from a medical professional about how to deal with folks like this, go ahead, seek yourself a competent counsel, and be advised. Everything that you hear on here is led by the Spirit as we're bringing out the scriptures and reference that and personal experience for educational, informational, entertainment purposes only. So, David, this is what I recommend. This is my highest recommendation. That you get that book labeled Spokesperson for Men. Every time you pick up the Bible to read on a daily basis, as you have convinced me that you do, spend 5 minutes or more and read that book, so that way you'll knock it out as soon as possible. When you order it online, get the black and white version. It's a little bit, it's a little bit more economical, but that way you'll have a baseline of information. And so if you do have questions on how we ought to conduct ourselves as men, especially in this day's society, in dealing with attracting a woman and protecting yourself from the wrong kind of woman once they show themselves, because not all of them show themselves for who they are in the beginning. That's not how they operate.
You're right.
Not saying that that particular part is for women only,
But if you do find a woman, most women are more agreeable than a man, especially if she's attracted to you. She's going to put her best foot forward, and so much so that that best foot may be showing forth as a form of witchcraft, you know, depending on what you find out later about that woman. You know, she may, they may say all these things that they want and all that, but the actions don't solidify or don't back up what they verbalize about what they want, what they desire, and all that. And that's just, you know, that's just the nature of, you know, the female. And also, what I'm telling you right now, David, is also in the book to some degree, if not in more detail. But you got to get it and you got to stick with it. You got to get it and you got to stick with it.
That's your word, Unclean.
You can either do it right now or the next time you get paid. That needs to happen. All you men out there that are having issues with attracting women, protecting yourself from the wrong woman, attracting the right type of woman, and then how to conduct yourself throughout that interaction from start to finish, how to conduct yourself around other, you know, other men, how to develop yourself as a man. That way, your everyday mannerisms, you know, do breed a level of success, and you're building on that. I suggest you guys get that book, and don't wait. I mean, to me, it was a great read. I seen so many things. I see so many things in there that I've, you know, like personally experienced myself and realized over the years the hard way. The Kahan has put it all together for us, you know. So I mean, and more. I mean, I definitely learned a lot. I definitely learned a lot, and I wish I'd have had it at a much younger age as well. But it's not how you start, it's how you end. And that'll be a good way for you men that see yourself, or other folks may have called you a simp, or you find yourself in some type of a rut. Go ahead and get that piece of literature sooner than later. And another reason why, you know, I really enjoy promoting the Kahan's material is because he actually shows you where he gets a lot of his ideas and supportive information from. He recommends other folks' books. He's not just going off on a whim, and he's not just using, you know, he's not just using the scriptures. He's using the scriptures in a proper understanding in modern day, you know. And I mean, this guy is, I mean, he's literally doing it all. Like, you guys have no idea the amount of information that he, you know, like, observes, collects, considers, jots down, come back, and the way the Spirit moves in him. I mean, it's all our love trying to help us. He ain't writing books just because. I mean, if anyone out there read any of his books, all his books make you better. They make you better. They make you better as a man, make you better as a woman. So, yeah, y'all need to get on it sooner than later. You know, all you men that want to be real men, do it. Especially you, David. It should be real great urgency, and in the elders of true disciples of Christ. You know, you over the age of 50. You need it so that way, you know, the older can teach the younger. So that's all I got. All in love.
Yeah, no, not at all. So,
yeah, David, I do believe you should get that book, man. I think it'll enhance your
you know what he put? I think he put in that box right there.
Techniques on your journey towards your wife, your wives.
just gotta be careful, man. People always come off in their best behavior initially, at the inception. But you never know what you're dealing with, man. Think they have you. Once they get comfortable, they show you something else. A lot of guys, it's too late then, because the guy typically gets emotionally hooked before she does. And, you know, he's going around telling her he loves her, and, you know, and she's like, yeah, okay, whatever. The borderlines, they don't really know how to love. This is what you guys got to understand. They don't know how to love because they've never been loved. They've never had true love. They've been neglected their entire lives. So they could only give you what they have. And they're very manipulative people. It's always a selfish behavior. It's always about them. They're liars. You that they love you, but they're not feeling anything. They're totally indifferent. So how to love? You gotta be very careful, man. Very, very careful. Remember, man, I always say it's not what they say, it's what they do. It's what these people do. They're saying one thing and their actions are not supporting it. Don't believe it. Anyone else have anything, man?
Yeah, Ephraim, any of this sound familiar? Experienced it or even watched it from the outside?
I'm just listening. It sound familiar.
Con, you gonna open it up for any
If
questions?
someone, I'll put a link in the room, man. If someone wants to speak on it, but you know what I know about a lot of guys that have a woman that's a borderline. That guy is usually so far gone. He think he's her. He think he's Christ because he think he's her savior. A borderline will make you feel guilty, like you're supposed to save him. They will play the guilt trip. Whenever you're trying to leave, see, they're worse. The worst thing that you can do to a borderline is abandon them. And so if you do that, if you leave a borderline, you gotta totally lose it, man. Totally lose it. If you think you've seen something, the worst is gonna come out. The worst is yet to come if you abandon them.
Hey, Shalom, Sam.
Hey, what's up, y'all? How you been?
Good.
So I definitely... What's that?
Considering the circumstances, just never know. Females are like a box of chocolate, Tim. You never know what you're gonna get.
I think I might become a diabetic on that one. No, I've definitely had my fair share of borderline individuals throughout my journey. But I will say this, you know, there was a gentleman on, or I think it's a gentleman. Yeah, there he is, Cannonball. We were discussing. Oh, it's careful. Oh, okay. I know who he is. I don't know him personally or anything. At any rate, I had said that you need to take and put your mask on first before you can help anybody, in the sense of, like, when you're flying, you know. He said he disagrees, and because he sacrifices for those that sacrifice for me. I would definitely agree with that statement. However, you got to breathe. You got to be able to handle your own business before you can take on anything, much less a wife or anything like that. And that's where I'm coming from on that one. Because if you don't have your own self locked and secured, you really, honestly, in my opinion, have no business looking for a woman. And that's probably why the Most High hasn't brought one for you. So you go out and you look for them, And then when you find a borderline, then you're like, well, why is she a borderline? Why is this all I'm finding? But it's because you haven't grounded yourself as a man. At least that's my opinion.
Yeah, sometimes they do slip through the cracks, though. They will put on a good role, very good acting, until they think that they have you. Then all hell breaks loose.
Well, there's that old saying, it's if it looks too good to be true, it probably is. And, you know, honestly, with all of the borderlines that I've dealt with throughout my life, it was me that was in the problem. You know, like, they were just a consequence of my unrighteous living, if that makes sense. I do believe the word says that a righteous woman is, what is it? A righteous woman is the pride of her husband, or is the reward of a righteous man, something along those lines. And I guess I look at it as I've become more stable and more dependable, more reliable, etc. My relationship with my girlfriend has drastically improved because she can actually trust me to, you know, if I say what I'm saying, then that's what I'm saying. She knows that's what is going to happen, yada yada, that kind of thing. But until I was grounded, until I was involved even with this group, you know, like I've definitely grown quite a bit in my own spiritual walk, etc. And, you know, if you're constantly hanging out with that type of person, you're going to start to have those tendencies. And I think that's what you were touching on with the men are just so far gone if they're with these people. Anyways.
You say she's your girlfriend, right?
Yes.
We don't use that word around here. Someone, there you go. You're ripped.
Yeah, I hear you. Where I'm at.
It's refreshing to be back here, to be honest. I've had to deal with a borderline. Just recently, I just paid a process server to eject her from a property. So I am pretty much fed up with BPD at this point. I actually offered to pay the process server at first, but nobody believed me. They're like, no, she'll be an adult. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, let's see what happens. And so as the situation unfurled, she wasn't capable of being an adult. In fact, she called the police on me, and I just got out of jail from a BPD, who I have no relationship whatsoever. All I told her was, I don't want to be your friend. I don't want to have any relationship with you. I don't even want to talk to you. I'm here in the form of like a bailiff. Like, I just want to make sure you pack up your stuff and leave peacefully. And so I got taken to jail. And I wouldn't sign. I wouldn't give a name. And they're like, well, yeah, if you don't want to sign, we're going to send you to federal, blah, 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 blah. You might not be out till next year. I was like, perfect. And they threw me out of the jail because I had no fear of their threats and coercion. And I realized that nothing the police say is true, ever. And I've always known this, but I've never experienced it to this level where this time I didn't give a name, wouldn't give a name, and I was firm on not signing anything. I was happy to just pray and wait until I was free. And they let me out that day. And these trumped-up allegations this woman had put against me, I got charged with obstruction of justice because I wouldn't give a name, and I got charged with mischief. Yeah, so, I mean, it's funny that this is the topic of the show because I just had to deal with this. So, yeah, guys, like, you got to get right. Get all these books. If I wasn't in the truth, I would have been in jail, in prison, right now because of a BPD. And it's only because of this right knowledge I learned from the authorized representative of the Kahan that I know what I know. And so this is yet another testimony. Yeah, it's just insanity. So the process server was paid today. I got a affidavit for the service, and so if she's not out in a month, then I can get an order for an order for possession, which then, if is granted, would be a writ of possession. In which case, a bailiff would probably put a notice that she'd have 48 hours to leave, and then she'd be kicked out and locked out. So, I mean, guys, like, you don't understand how unstable people are right now. And I'm not just talking about women. And this happens to be the topic is women. But people are at a all-time, like, I almost say it's like revelations right now, because the way it's looking, like, the lake of fire, there are a lot of people who want that mark of the beast, so it's a strange time. It's a strange time to be alive in Revelations. So I want to yield the mic, and I want to pass it off to someone. I think I've kind of said a lot about this, but yeah, no. So I like I said, get the books, guys. Study this stuff till you really prove it, because you will be tested. And if you tell a woman no, and you mean no, and you tell her no, like, they will call the boys in blue. Yeah. Like, it's insanity.
Play a victim.
That's what the female cop that came said to her. She said, they always play the victim. The female cop said it to the woman who's putting me in jail.
Yeah, man, that's crazy. I'm not surprised, man, because they tell you, like I said, man, a borderline will go from I love you, 6 hours later, she's going to get you arrested. She'll tell you she love you. You might have said something to her, Nicholas Carefoot, about 3 weeks ago, 3 months ago.
I just told her not to break the law. I just said, stop drinking and driving. I see that you had 3 drinks. You went for a drive in the middle of the night. Stop drinking and driving. And what was the other thing? Oh, and I offered to help her pack her stuff so that she could leave quicker. And then she said, I'm taking it as a threat. I said, you're taking it as a threat that I'm offering to help you leave. The premise where there's no consent for you to be here, and you're overstaying your welcome. Like, I don't know how to explain this, but, like, would you stay at your ex-boyfriend's house 8 months after he broke up with you? Like, squatting, basically. Would you do that, or would you have some self-esteem? Not these women nowadays. This was a 40-year-old grown woman who did this.
Right. They gonna be mean and none, dude.
Yeah, man. Like I said, I almost died this week too. I had a rollover crash this week, and I had to deal with the BPD, and so I just had the most crazy time of my life this week. And so I've seen my life flash behind my eyes. Got thrown to jail for something that I'm completely innocent of, and it was so baffling. I couldn't even believe that. She's like, well, hold on. Before she called the cops, she said she's calling the cops. I was like, you can't be seriously calling the cops. So I didn't pay it no mind, because there was no event. Like, there's no injured party. So it didn't even, like, I didn't register. It wasn't until the cop arrived that it was starting to set in. And this cop had made it clear to me that he was an atheist. At which point I told him, well, if you're an atheist, I'm not going to sign a document in which you're swearing your oath and you don't even believe in an Elohim. It doesn't even make sense. Why would I want to sign on to that? Because you're trying. So the document he wanted me to sign was a peace order that I couldn't go to my own home, where my own Jeep is, and my own motorhome, and then my motorhome gets taken away, towed away. So I end up charging. I charged the tow truck company with theft. I got my motorhome back. I didn't even notification. I had someone call me saying that they had seen it get towed out of the tow yard, so it must be coming back home. So this is all after the process server and everything. So, like, man, these BPD women, they will utterly destroy you guys, and they will, like, it's like dealing with a psychopath. I don't know how to explain it. Like, they'll at one hand they're pretending to flirt with you, on the other hand they're pretty much preparing you for utter destruction, and they don't care if you're in a rollover crash. They don't care if you lose everything. Like, I would have lost. If I had stayed in jail, I would have lost my passport, my driver's license, all identification, all credit cards, debit cards, and I already lost most of what I had already. So it was just like, there's never enough. They'll never be happy, and they'll continue to, like, they'll make sure that you're in jail with nothing, and you have no vehicles left, everything. Like,
and the interesting part is they don't have a reason. It's just because they're batshit crazy. That's the only reason.
Yep.
And intensifying, you could have said something that was, really harmless, but like I said in the beginning, the BPD will blow that completely out of proportion. They intensify that remark so much. Oh, I don't think things between you and I will ever work. You make it seem hopeless. That's their thinking. That's how they think.
so get this, she assaulted me. This is before she called the cops on me, which I just wrote off. She was drinking and driving. She assaulted me. The landowner, she boxed him in downtown, like took her vehicle, or automobile rather, and blocked him in so he couldn't leave. Got out of the car and started berating him. Now, if this was the other way around and it was a man doing it to the woman, this landowner would have been in jail. Like, women want equality, but there is no equality. Like, it's just, anyway, I'm pretty shocked. It's funny because I bought Red Pill Right Knowledge because I thought I might need it, and so I studied to reprove myself, and sure enough, I did need it. So, like, guys, have these books. You don't know when you'll need these books, and when you're in jail and you don't have these books, you'll wish you read them 10 times. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. Money back guarantee that you should read these books 10 times. And when you got nothing else to think about, you'll have something useful to think about. And all these maxims, and there's so many good little gems and tidbits in these books. Like, when I'm studying these books, things will come up where I'm like, maybe the 7th or 8th or 9th, 10th or 10th, whatever time, you'll see some little one line in there where you're like, oh, I didn't know a middle name was fictitious. And all these little things. Like, all these little things will pop up, and you'll be like, okay, note to self, use that.
These borderlines, man. It makes you hate him, too, man. It just makes me hate him. You go from high control for no reason. It just makes me, you think everything's going fine, and boom, out of nowhere, the borderline just comes up. Just make something up, man, because their mind just starts wondering. See, they do that when they're alone. Whenever a borderline's alone, they have nothing to do but to think. And that's a dangerous thing right there when a borderline's thinking. Because their thoughts are always negative. Be just fine, and they're going to ruin it for you. And if you really piss them off, you're going to be where she had Nick at. She'll create a story. One borderline punched herself in the face. Gave herself a black eye. And called the cops on the guy and got him arrested.
Yeah, they actually have a video of that. They show some lady sitting on the bed beating herself, and somebody passed her along in the evening news, and they confronted her. She said, "I didn't do that." Got her on tape beating herself in the face, and got the guy arrested, and then after they saw the tape, of course they let him out. But I mean, she sat there and denied it.
That's when you get a signed sworn statement from them, and they don't know you have that video footage. That's how you take care of it.
Follow the law, and that's how they're going to trip up, because this lady, she threatened to shoot me in the face, assaults me, constantly harasses me, and I just leave her alone. And there's a little voice in your head that's telling you, hey, let's start doing the filing for this. Probably listen to that voice. I highly recommend it.
A few years back, my baby mama decided that she was going to get angry at me and threatened to throat punch me. I decided that I would see what I could do to take care of it, because that's a threat. I wasn't really afraid because she's not that large to, do anything, but nevertheless, I'd still get hit. Who wants to get hit? But when I called the sheriff's department, because it was a domestic and the local police department didn't deal with it. Some bullcrap. I don't know. They were giving me the runaround. But basically, the officer said, so if you get hit, are you going to be hurt? And I said, probably not. He said, well, then that's really not an issue that we should be dealing with. You should just man up, was his answer. While I agree that getting hit by her would not be, that drastic, nevertheless, if those roles were reversed, and I were the one saying I'm going to throat punch you, I would be brought down, they would have me in cuffs, beating the crap out of me, calling me a woman beater, this, that, and the other thing. And, so when you're talking about equality, unless they have a gear shifter and 2 ball bearings, they're just an automatic. And an automatic is not the same as a standard. Just saying. Can't have equality if you don't have all the same parts.
It's just, it gets intense too, and like the amount of leeway you get as a BPD, because it's kind of like being an undercover agent. They don't know that it's not a victim. They can be a psychopath on one hand, and then when the cops show up, oh, I don't know, I didn't know what to do, I was so scared.
But that's one of the characteristics of a BPD. They only usually show that behavior around their loved one. In the professional world, they work out really well. And that's what makes it so annoying, because the people won't believe that they're like that.
And as a man, I know for a fact that I had no confidence to call the police. I'm like, I called people around being like, hey, yo, this chick's doing this, and they're like, yep, just eat it. Nothing you can do. It's a woman. Because if you can't be known as a rat, so you got to eat it. And so I went to jail. And they threw me out because I wouldn't sign nothing. They wanted me out that day, and they came with the same offer 3 times. Like, okay, so you can never go home, and all that. I'm like, that's insanity. I'm like, I'm not going to sign that. And they're like, oh, no, if you sign it, you're not guilty, guy. You're not guilty. No, it's not an admission of guilt. No, you're just signing a unilateral contract. I was like, I get this works on regular debtors, but like after a certain amount of like edification, like anyway, the whole system is set up in such a way where it's tilted, right? And I think in my case, all the agents involved were on my side, and they were just following procedure. But that procedure involved taking my behind all the way downtown and all my belongings to go in lockup, and then I get ejected into the street with nothing. Like they would, like if it was a woman, they wouldn't even think of taking them to jail. Like they would probably try to work it out. So I don't know. It's the craziest. This is the craziest week of my life. I was driving downhill, did a 360, rolled over, had no control of my vehicle, closed my eyes and say, "Save me, Yahweh, wake up alive, unscathed, perhaps a concussion or something," and then this. So I mean, thankfully I set off my Jeep, so it didn't cost me. Like if I had paid that with fiat, I probably would be suicidal. And if I wasn't also edified on how to deal with the BPD, I probably would be in prison. So I would be in the hole, thinking about that until I was released next year. Oh man, like it's just like they will destroy you. They will destroy you until you have nothing, and I'm underlining nothing left. So I yield.
Just out of curiosity, is there any actual legal ramifications that you can do? Obviously, a video is going to protect you and everything like that, but who wants to wear a body cam in their house? I personally don't have this issue. However, I don't know what life is going to bring me in the next, life changes every day. But is there any legal ramification besides a video cam that you can do to alleviate the kind of, not really necessarily a prenup, but something along those lines? I mean, can you set up a contract or anything like that? I mean, is there a remedy that anybody knows off the top of their head, I guess would be my question.
Yeah, cut them off from your flesh.
I was going to say, you know, if you've dealt with the situation prior, then you know, even though the Kahan said, you know, they're going to put their best foot forward to ensnare you, you should know better, you know, and know the symptoms or the warning signs. You know, if you're the type that goes out and dates or you know, looking for relationships or whatever. All praises to the Most High. I've been wed for going on 16 years now, so I am not out there looking for none of that. And I wouldn't even think about it if I was single right now, because I mean, it's just these females are just hot and heavy. All of them to me seem like they ain't got screwed right.
This summer I met a BPD and she was vaxxed up and she tried to grab me and like she was trying to, like, it sounds so crazy, but it's like the moves that the women do nowadays are like rapey. I don't know the better word to use. So like she would turn to me like, oh, what, you don't like that? Like you're gonna act like you don't consent. You don't think I'm sexy, blah blah. It's like, no, it's not the flesh. Like your spirit's off, lady. And like I had to run away from this woman who reasonably attractive, but just her brain is just like just a train wreck. And I can't even believe women could have a like it's a female voice, but it's like some hood cats talking to me, and it's like this is a female Edomite nurse. Why is she talking to me like she's like playing me? It's just crazy, man. She's telling me, oh, I love your hair. She like grabs my hair. I would never like just meet a girl and just grab, touch. Let me just interact with this immediately. Totally insane. Buys me a drink. I tell her I don't want the drink. I don't drink. Keep the drink. And then she's slamming 2 drinks and gone. Off to the next guy. No problem. This is the world we live in now.
GP, you right here.
Just get right with Yahweh, guys. Like, you don't know when your life's going to be over just like that. That's what I noticed this week. So, eat right. Don't do drugs. Don't drink alcohol. Don't smoke cigarettes. Don't be dumb. Treat your temple with respect, because you get this one temple before you go to the Shemayim. And that's if you go to the Shemayim. And if you don't treat the temple right, you're not going to the Shemayim. I've seen that. So, these women, like, it's not the women's fault, right? Like, you got to realize that we live in a toxic culture now, and that culture, it's selling sweat equity. Like, people are this their birth certificate, right? So let's get the whole labor force, so on and so forth. Get that mark of the beast, so on and so forth. You know, it's crazy times. And so if you're right, stay right. Keep righteous. And if you have a hunch that that someone that you're dating is off, you know, be off with it. Like, learn to cut your losses, because you got to honor not only like where you came from, but where you're going, right? So just keep your head on your shoulders, everyone. Like, and some of these things that we can learn at this channel and from the authorized representative for the Kahan, some of like the best information for these types of situations. And without it, I don't want to think where I would be. Other than that, though, I love my life, man, and I love these books. These books are great. I want to go buy I found my copy of Commercial Warfare 2nd Edition. I gotta get a second copy because I'm gonna give one away. Such a good book.
Anybody else got anything? Thanks for sharing that. And yeah, handle that situation, man. Handle that. Alright.
Peace and wellness. I'm gonna go ahead and get to bed. I'll work tomorrow. Appreciate it.
Shalom.
Shalom.
Be with y'all. Shalom.
Feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, it looks like the calm might have stepped away for a minute. The only way that we're going to be able to deal with this is stay in them scriptures and stay away. I mean, you stable-minded women out there, you know, by and large, you know, the women kind of stick together and they don't check each other. But for those of you who are part of that rare remnant that do, that, you know, correct your sister, you know, in love, you know, you recognize these traits and one of your friends or you know, family member or whatever the case is, pray for them and let them know. Pray for them and let them know. No longer be an enabler of that behavior that they're displaying. Because you know it ain't right. You know, good and well, it's not right. If you really love them, care about them, you tell them about themselves. I'm talking to the females out there that have their mind about themselves and know that they, you know, they have a friend out there that acts like that. You just either tolerate it, or you put up with it, or you laugh at it.
What's next,
instead of seeking, you know, them to be healed from that business. You are a codependent. Just the same.
What's next? Any more next?
Yeah, y'all demon. For those that have family members, you know, suffer from a lot of these mental issues, if they are open to the truth, you know, not that Christianity stuff, but, you know, just show them how to pray and, you know, inform them that they're asking to better understand their situation and to be healed of, I guess we could call them demons, you know, or these evil spirits, you know, to get them off of you, and, you know, and then, you know, get the support from, you know, the family members that led you to the truth in the first place.
Colin, well said.
It's a good point, Dale. But you know, if you start telling people they got demons on them, then the demon won't.
Yeah, they need to admit, you know, if we're not keeping all 600 and some odd statutes and commandments, then everybody's dealing with something. So they gotta admit it first, and then, you know, ask the Most High. Learn how to use the scriptures to heal yourself. Come on this channel and listen to these two men, you know, instruct and inform us on how to be men. This is what it's all about. This was denied to us for damn near 600 years.
They're not going to do that. The borderline's not going to admit that they're wrong. They're just not going to do that. It's still worse, you know, they will go to any extreme. They would die before they admit that they're wrong. We'll create all kind of excuses. And see, that's the other thing with abandonment is a borderline admitting that they're wrong. Because that's, I don't know, that's terrifying to them. They try to be perfect. They always want to look perfect.
To admit you're wrong means to abandon your own mindset. So it falls right in that category where they don't want to be abandoned. If they abandon themselves, then they truly lost. Even if it's over something as simple as a dirty look, it's still the principle of the thing with them.
Yeah, they don't recognize it. You know, what's another place, man, to get flights, man? I'm trying to book this flight, man. This thing keeps... Oh, shoot, we can't find the offer for your booking. I tried this like 10 times, man. I'm trying to get a flight in the morning. Like, I'm using this Hooper. Anyone knows anything else, man?
There's Orbitz. There's another one I use. I'm just trying to remember the name of it. Let me think of it for a second. That's Orbitz with the Z. Just give me a sec to look up some new ones. I've had pretty good fortune with Priceline.
Yeah, that one was a little high. I went to that one. That was about $100 more than this one I'm using right now.
Sometimes when you go to the actual carriers, are the prices pretty reasonable or comparable to where you're looking now?
I saw, I don't mean to interrupt your comment or anything, but I just saw there's a company called Sun Country that flies all over the United States. They were offering a $59 one-way with one bag, at least from my area in the metro here, but that obviously New York's probably a little bit different, but I'm pretty sure they fly in there. So you might want to look at Sun Country. Right, but they might have something available with that along those lines. It's worth looking at.
Is it cool?
Sun Country.
Off topic, what's the best way to clean the floor?
Fire, if you're talking about it having wax on it.
Yeah, it's like heavily melted, and the only resource I have is just the stove. And you know, you can imagine how messy that gets. Smoke everywhere, and you know, I'm in an apartment. I was just wondering if there was an easier way to do it.
Anytime I've dealt with brass and wax, what I've always done is I've taken off every bit of wax that I can by hand, polish it with a rag, and then throw it in the oven for a little while, and it'll bake it off. And the wax, there's not that much to burn off, so I mean, it might be well worth it. Obviously have some baking soda or something that you can throw onto it if it need be.
Yeah, I'm just dealing with the smoke issue. Yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah, you just gotta. Forgive me, I want to interject. This is called Tazadaq. The site I use is called momondo.com. That's MOMONGO.com. It's the cheapest flights I've ever found is on that site.
There's another. Go ahead. There's a product called Bartender's Keeper that works really good on a lot of different metal products, and brass is one of the things that it specifically cleans, and it should take the wax off.
Joe Moore recommends Heat Gun in the YouTube chat, Daryl. So, I mean, I'm thinking like propane grill outside if you can't get the smoke, right? So I don't know. It's just wax.
Yeah. Pretenders keeper.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the same thing, right? 2000, same thing?
Yeah, I appreciate it.
2000, same thing?
Yeah, it works real good on the toilet and everything. Keeps it nice and white regardless of all the iron. Just out of curiosity, I haven't seen on the website, is there a place where prayer requests can be
Something happened.
I have a lot of them with all of you, so. There's an app called, what's it called? Clubhouse that just came out, and there's a lot of Israelites on there that use that for chatting. Maybe we make a True Disciples of Christ chat.